Well, all right. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to our lesson, because right now I want to examine the variables in the data set together with the target variable. Now, of course, I did not refresh the page because I want to work with this some more. So we're going to get into it right now. If we examine the data set, the values of age and fair variables have a continuous structure. So I'm going to classify them as numeric. I'll determine the others categorically. Now, as you know, there are different visualization techniques according to categorical and numeric ones. So that means we'll need to design our work accordingly. So in this context, we're going to first examine the relationship between the categorical ones and the survived. So sure enough, I want to complete them all in one move with the help of the for loop. So I'll just come over here to the message section and I'll write something like, now I want to determine the relationship between the variables in the data set other than age and fair with survived. Can you write the necessary visualization code with the help of the for loop? So I'll send that in. And here come the answers, guys. Let's wait for it to finish. I get a little impatient sometimes, but this is really cool, so I get excited. Okay, so now we can start the analysis. So my friend, the chatbot said that it could realize this request, and then it wrote the codes below. So check it out. First, it created a variable named variables, and it collected all the variables in the data set into a list using the toList function. Then it removed the variables we did not want from this list using the remove function. Well, now which ones were they? They were age and fair variables, yeah? And then see this? With the help of a for loop, it performed the relationship of the remaining variables with a target variable that survived. So it shows Catplot as a graphic. And here the x-axis consists of variables, while the y-axis contains the survived variable. It sets the kind of parameter as a bar to display a bar in the image. And it adjusted the title format for each image at the bottom and finally completed the visualization work. So see this, my friends? It explains the codes written here, but of course we're not going to deal with it here because I explained it already step by step. Okay, so let's transfer the codes to the notebook without wasting any more time. Well, check it out. I'll take the code from the left side and paste them all into the cell on the right. Now, by the way, friends, I actually realized something new here. We did not want it to remove the survived variable from the list of variables. So this will create an image that we do not want in the visualization. See, no meaningful visual will emerge because both the x and y axis will be survived variables. You see that? So I'll need to add my realization to the code for this. And we don't need to go back to ChatGPT for this, but just before running the code, you got to see, I'll go in here where it removes an item from the list and write the code. So I copied it from here and paste it. And here I'll write survived in the variable name section. You follow? So now everything's ready to go. We can run the code. All right, so check it out. We've created all the images with a single code. Now let's also take the information part from ChatGPT. I'm going to copy this whole part. And then on the right, I'll open up a cell in Markdown format and paste it all in. And we can run that code. Okay, so now we can perform analysis by looking at these images. However, I would like to have ChatGPT do this. Now, there's a point that I would like to draw your attention to first. Now, while preparing the code for us, it actually assumes that the data set was loaded. So ChatGPT still does not recognize the data set. Therefore, we need to consider this situation when we write our message. So remembering all this, I'll come over here to the message section and write a message. That goes something like this. First, Load the data set above from the Seaborn library according to the desired shape. Then, apply the above code to this data set and analyze the graphs in order according to the code output. Okay, that seems pretty clear to me, so let's just send that in and see what it says. Well, check it out. We've got some answers starting to come, and we'll wait for it to finish. Now we can have a look. Okay, so it is not directly available in CSV format in the Seaborn library, as in our previous studies, right? So ChatGPT kind of indirectly apologizes to us. But then it states that it could do this by adequately using the Seaborn library and writing the code, saving the applied methods in its memory. Okay, so this is something that I would like to draw your attention to. See, we asked it to analyze the codes after we wrote them. However, I'm sure you paid attention, right? It only gave the general information below. It didn't actually perform the analysis. Ha ha! What? It might be subtle, but I'm not going to be angry at ChatGPT right now. But I will ask a question again about this issue. So here I'm going to ask this question. Can you analyze the graphs based on the output of the above code? So I'll send that message in. And now we've got the answers, and we'll wait for it to finish. Okay, so let's start our analysis. So here ChatGPT responds, but we still need to receive our request fully. Now, if you noticed, at first it made a statement and said, certainly, without running the code, I can provide a general analysis of the graphs generated based on the code. So it's exactly like I said, guys. ChatGPT is just theoretically telling how we can analyze graphs. It just wants us to do the rest. How lazy, ChatGPT. Okay, so within this context, I'm going to try my luck one more time and ask a question to ChatGPT. We'll do the graphic analysis ourselves if it gives a similar answer. I'm just asking a question, maybe like this. After running the above codes, can you analyze the graphs according to the output? Let's send that in. And here are the answers. Let's have a look. So ChatGPT apologizes for its answer in the previous code and gives a similar answer again. Now, are you noticing the pattern here? It's not analyzing the graphs again. It just helps us on how to analyze it. However, if we examine these explanations, it kind of gives a little more details about it, right? So in this context, we're not going to force ChatGPT too much, and we will analyze the graphics ourselves in line with the information that it offers. But let's first do a quick review. So see, it wants us to interpret the relationship between P-class and survived. Look for differences in survival rates between classes. Typically, higher class passengers, lower P-class values, may have a higher survival rate. And yeah, if we examine it in this context, the class that survived the most is seen as the first class, and the second and third class follow. So the wealthy are more likely to survive than others. Okay, no judgment here. This is just info, right? So let's move on to the following graph. What does ChatGPT have to say about this? Look for differences in survival rates between genders. Historically, females were given priority during the Titanic disaster, so it's expected to see a higher survival rate for females. So this is actually a very accurate assessment, guys, because if we examine the graph, the survival rate of women is almost 4 times higher than that of men. Women and children first, I believe, is the expression. Anyway, this indicates that ChatGPT has made a correct detection. All right, so let's continue with the SIB-SP survive chart next. What does ChatGPT say? Look for patterns or trends in survival rates based on the number of siblings, spouses. It's possible that having a certain number of family members could influence the chances of survival. Well, this finding is also true, my friends, as it turns out. And if we examine the graph, individuals with few family members have a higher chance of survival. Now, what draws my attention here, though, is that the zeros are lower than 1 and 2. This is most likely due to the small number of individuals joining the ship by themselves and alone. Okay. Otherwise, according to the graph, the group with the highest probability of survival should have been with, well, those with 0 family members, right? Well, let's move on to the following graph. What's that? Parch survived relationship. Right. So this wants us to do a study like this while we're reviewing it. Look for any correlations between the number of parents, children, and survival rates. Having family members on board may impact the likelihood of survival. Okay, so if we evaluate it in this context, the probability of survival of a passenger with 4 children is higher than others. The main reason for this may be that families with children are prioritized, right? Women and children first and all that sort of thing. So now we've come to the embarked town survived relationship. And let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Factors such as socioeconomic status or cabin location might differ based on the port of embarkation. Okay, so if we consider it in this context, the ones that survived the most are those who boarded the ship from the port of Cherbourg. Queenstown and Southampton are next, respectively. And to evaluate that further socioeconomically, it means that what happens in the port of Cherbourg has a higher class level. Most likely first-class passengers embarked there. Okay? And then anybody else who wants to determine this can examine the P-class embarked-town relationship. But me, well, we're going to take our notes and continue. So finally, we have an alone survived relationship. However, ChatGPT does not comment on this. Well, let's evaluate that. Okay, guys, those who get on the ship alone are less likely to survive than those who don't, almost by twice as much. Okay, so we've actually analyzed it in other graphs as well. I mean, I'm just saying. So the information that we extracted from here actually has a confirmation in other graphs. So my friends, we've done all of this analysis, but before we wrap up this lesson, I will transfer all this information in ChatGPT over to the notebook. So I'll take the following part from the left side and copy it and paste it into my notebook by opening up a cell in Markdown format over here on the right. And I'll add item titles. This will make it look nice, make it clear. Okay, so that's better. Let's go ahead and take the piece over here from the left, and I'm just copying it and then pasting it under the text over here on the right. And I'm just editing the article titles again. Okay, so everything looks ready now, so we can run the code. We'll check it out, my friends. The information comes up just the way we predicted. Well, my friends, I want to wrap it up here, but we are going to continue with visualization next time. So I'll see you in the next video.